Hello everyone, welcome. Don't know if you can hear me now. It says it's all good, so I'll get going any second. Louding. Alright, cool. We'll just get going now with Bitcoin to begin with. So I wanted to do a stream. Hopefully I'll end up doing this weekly now on a weekly basis. So that'll be quite useful for everyone who wants to come and check this out on a weekly basis on a Monday before we start the week. So to begin with, I'll go over what I'm kind of feeling for Bitcoin. My plan, at least, a bit of a, even like a higher time frame weekly view heading into the 4 hour and then like really local time frames. So that's kind of the plan, the way I like to look at it. And then obviously I'll go over any questions you have, execution strategies, any other order flow nuances you may want to really be asking. So yes, hello everyone, thank you for all typing in the chat. I'll come to you in a second. So to begin with Bitcoin, I mentioned this already before, I believe, but we are now, if I just change this to white, this is like the first real weekly close we've had, in my opinion, above this really significant weekly level all the way back in July 2021. If I'm taking a fixed range below all of this price action as well, this weekly level comes right into confluence with that range value area low. Okay, so if we just do that, okay, so you can see that, you know, this is where we're now closing above, and I think we've got two really clear, in my opinion, ranges. You know, regardless of how large they are, you have this. In my opinion, this is the first initial range, and then alternatively, you have this, obviously, below us. So we've got two pieces of price action here, and we are actually coming into this. So right now, I mean, without skipping any of the kind of generic bullshit, this is obviously fairly bullish, whilst we are closing weekly candles above this region here. Now I do have a zone in which this kind of move does get invalidated, in my opinion, but for the moment, this is where I'm really looking for price to continue seeing a move to the upside. If this is a legitimate breakout of this much larger move towards the downside, if that's the case, okay. With that said, also on the weekly, right, so you've had obviously this rounded kind of bottom type scenario here. This is your next resistance. Like, really, if we do end up breaking up, which is what, if this is a legitimate breakout, like, there's no reason, in my opinion, if this is a legitimate breakout, I would be seeing $40,000. Now, beforehand, my brain would have been thinking, okay, I would only be targeting the point of control, okay, which is still a really large target, this point of control. However, the other side of me is thinking, if this is to move higher, right, then why would we just hit 39k and not hit $40,000? I mean, with that being said, overall $70,000 liquidity wasn't taken, so we can't always just go by that. But I would generally be thinking that it would take $40,000 before seeing any sort of pullback if it was to continue moving up, which I'll get to on the lower time frame in a second. But if this is a legitimate breakout, yeah, I'd be looking for 40k as the intermediate targets, and then beyond that, I think the real big resistance to claim, I mean, that's so far up, I don't want to get anyone ahead of, you know, that's still a 50% move. But if you reclaim $40,000, I see, you know, no real reason as to why you don't hit 52k, and that's really a massive, you know, zone there. If you reclaim that, I don't see any. That's new all-time highs if you reclaim that, in my opinion. But we're nowhere near that yet, and we're still all the way down here at 34k on the weekly at least. So we head over to the 4 hour. Just deleting some of these lines now. We actually have, and I'll go over the order flow in terms of what I've been thinking. We've obviously seen this uptrend here. A lot of, this is a nice low. This is a really good low. I really like that low we put in on the 11th of September. You know, I'm actually going to be going over a thread. A thread will be released tomorrow, I believe, going over a specific setup and way of trading that, you know, this happened down here. We could get something similar towards the top, which I'll go over later. but this is a nice low. This is not amazing. These could still be taken out, in my opinion. This, it could still be taken out, but that's, whilst we're up here, there's no reason to think that. The only point in time where I think if we lose is really all the way back down here at like 31.2. Okay, so if this loses all the way back towards here, we can even just like a zone here just below this. If we start to lose this, that's when I would really be thinking that this has just all been one big failed auction. Okay, at that point I'd be really thinking it's been one big failed auction, and this is just heading down. But we're a long way away from that. And the reason, I'll go over the reason why I think that. If I can go over to, if I bring this up, head over to EXO, right? You can all see my EXO screen now, 31,200. This zone here, this is the session clusters, by the way. Will increase a tick size to like 500, not 50, 500, right? And you could see how you've seen this like move up, consolidation. This 31,200 region here, right, is like where a lot of new longs have really been entering from. Okay, like anyone above that is on side. If they have long from beyond that, they're on side. If this kind of cluster here is lost, yeah, that's at the reason I'm looking for much lower prices if you lose that. But again, that's well off the cards at the moment. So yeah, like it's bullish. So weekly time frames bullish. Makes sense to look for higher. 4 hours telling me, okay, if we lose X zone here, I'd be looking for much lower. That's like invalidates the kind of the higher time frame bias, in my opinion, right now. Is this 31,200 region if you lose that. And then let's go to more local. So what I'm looking to trade today, tomorrow, this week in general. So if we just head back over to TradingView, right. Okay, bear with me. Yeah, if we just head back over to TradingView, right, then this is what we see within like this more local range here, where you've seen a initial really large wick. Let me just make sure. Yeah, initial really large wick on derivatives to the upside, and then you've kind of got this really sideways piece of price action beyond that. So if we just hide this, what levels am I looking for today? I've got quite a few that I'm interested in. Right, so initially there's 4 levels here, within this like internal range, where you could be looking for some sort of range deviation, whatever you want to call it. I would move this one up to here now. Okay, I would move this up to 34,870, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 series of highs, right, which would be taken out for then like a potential SFP to bring it back down. Now and alternatively, like one of my favorite ones would be this low here. Like I really do like this 33,890 region. If we also bring on the daily levels, you've also got a daily down there, so you could see this. I'll definitely look for something like this should it be given, right, to bring it back up to the very highs. I'm interested in that. And alternatively, locally, the only one which of all these levels which I'm not really too keen on is this high here. I'm not insanely. I'll trade it if the reaction is given, and also this low. I would also trade it if the reaction is given. But the ones I have more confidence in potentially catching a decent move off would be this high here and this low here. So this one and this one, not their levels. I'm gonna trade them if they give reactions 100%, but preferred. Sorry, this one here. Would be the levels of interest. Now this one up here is because of a setup I've been tracking, and it I've seen, I'll go over this in a complete thread, but you've put in a massive wick, you generate a ton of positions, right? You then kind of move into the wick a bit. This is why this high is significant, in my opinion. We don't know how far it will go into the wick at all, but if it goes into it, it could SFP, it could failed auction, whatever. But then it could, the idea is you do not take out this wick, and then you see like a potential short trade given there, where then you can then target, in my opinion, back down towards at least this low, the 33,800. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. In that sense, would be for that. Right now, price is uptrending. You saw this low putting on the day today. but daily low today is within London session. So what would that bring me to conclude? That generally London session does not put in the low of the day. Okay, so this is why the benefit of statistics remains, where if you know that London session, I'm going off probabilities. I'm not saying I think it must. It literally just probabilities. Someone can say to me today, they think, generally this happens. I'm not going off of I think. It's literally I've collected specific statistics. This is, the probabilities of taking this out are higher than, putting in a daily low within another session. So it would make sense to take this out, just through statistics from that standpoint. So any move up right now could offer a short trade to then see it come back down and taken out within, this, ideal scenario is we do get something like that, which then takes it out. Maybe it then continues heading down, and then you put in a low, tonight within New York, whatever, and then this offers another long, and then you see another move up. So it's like really about playing the range right now. This is kind of a drawn out idea right now, what I'm thinking, but this could really play into, if I was to have the perfect week, how would that be planned out? And I'm not, saying 100% this would happen, but you could see something like this, right? Where we have this kind of, where I don't, I think you all know that I don't trade patterns or such, but this is just, I'm going to come into this in a second, where we have, so put on our liquidity levels, where we see this SFP. This is still part of the pattern, for example, right? It does something like this. Okay, and then it then comes all the way back down, gets like this SFP at the low, right? So now we've got, we're kind of bringing more people into the idea of this is like a contracting wedge. You then send, everyone's kind of thinking, okay, this is just a bull flag or whatever. It's going to send it to the upside. You then get that move up to get the fake out above that kind of higher region and then send it back down. That's like the ideal scenario, and what I'd love to trade would be something like this, because it plays into all aspects of liquidity and faking out all kind of retail traders, right? Yeah, let me know what, there's a lot of you in here actually, so let me know what you're all thinking in terms of, if you have any questions on that. I'll go over the questions. There's quite a few. Okay, so let's see. Yep, hello everyone, thank you. I have some nice confluence here on the higher time frame, 382. Yeah, I'm much more interested in the more local in terms of my day trades, but great point there. Do you have any paid group to learn from? No, not currently. Don't plan on doing so. Hello, your exit chart template is absurdly cool. I'd love for you to share it with us. Share it with us. Yes, I believe I shared that within one of my templates. It's also within the Discord, the free Discord. You can find a link to that on the Twitter or whatever you want. So yeah. No, Evo Scriber, I am not. No. Do you think the higher time frames are more related to the news, such as? I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying that all of this, a lot of things aren't related to the news, right? I just, I've traded so many different ends of this, aspects of this market. And I'm not to say, trading news doesn't work, but it just doesn't work for me. So I'm much more interested in when volatility does occur. Okay. I'm there to be ready to trade it regardless of the way it's going to go. And I just have my levels based on that, right? If it was the case of the news is good, the news is bad, right? I would just sit there in front of the Bloomberg and buy and sell based upon what they're going to say, which might not necessarily be right, but that is the way I'd look at it, and personally for me, I'm just much more interested in trading the volatility at the time the volatility occurs, the statistics that I'm given based upon the stats I'm taking, and trading based upon liquidity. So, like I mentioned today, I think last time I did a stream, we did get the exact move. I can't remember where it was, but I remember I'm going to be doing some more trading breakdowns, etc. But I remember last week, I do remember last week we did get, if you want to go back to that, a really good move off of the high I had mentioned. So, these intermediate intraday, on a Monday, these intermediate intraday levels really do provide good reactions if you get there. Again, I'll head over to EXO real quick because I wanted to show you. Conditions significantly changed. I think everyone's kind of, and you know what the problem is? I'll go over this really briefly. Is that when everyone's talking about swing failure patterns, and some people say it don't work, whatever, right? The way most of everyone thinks a swing failure pattern would work is, this is the high, this is a low, this is the major swing failure patterns. But probably as you notice, I'm not really always in. To me, this is a swing failure pattern down here. This is a low, but most people would not see this as a swing failure pattern if it did that, because I'm just thinking most people wouldn't be really looking at that as a swing failure pattern. Everyone's looking for the major highs and lows, and yes, obviously I definitely recognize that they don't happen as much anymore, but just by saying that, do you have any stats on that they don't happen as much anymore? And that's something you should definitely be tracking, rather than, in my opinion, just guesstimating that the market conditions have changed. I think it's really good to go collect stats on such data, Iko, so someone's asked about the CME gap, and I personally think that right now, the market structure is bullish. We haven't broken down from anything. 31, all the way back down here, in my opinion, this could still pull back before seeing a move back up. But overall, 31,200 region, whilst remain above there, this is looking bullish. I'm expecting higher prices to come, and that's it. But if we lose that, and this is something I should definitely have mentioned before, if we do lose 31,200, I will be hedging on Bitcoin again, probably a really big hedge, because I say really big, it'd just be the equivalent of my portfolio size, right? But the reason for that is because it would confirm that the idea that, we've spent some time up here now. It's not that we've been up here for short. We spent a little bit of time up here. Going on to that weekly, just bringing it back to this. Right? What the hell's going on? Not this one. We are there. Right, we're above this level, so losing 31,200 as well would confirm this is I wouldn't want to get too ahead of anyone else, but this is kind of a really big important factor. If you lose 31,200 now, the way you trade, I trade stuff like this would be this is a deviation. At the bare minimum, I'm looking for $26,000 at the bare minimum at that stage, and more than likely, I would say over a long period of time that would then retrace back to see a new low put in. And that's why I think this is really significant. What happens up here? Does this continue heading up? And that's why I think I'm ready to hedge if we do lose 31,200. Why would you trade the 33,881 low? I saw another question I'm going to answer as well. About the stock market as well, which I'll go over in a second. Do some analysis on that. But why am I interested in this 33,881 low? So this one here, I know the reason. So first of all, everyone might be thinking, and I've gone over this in many different things before, and it's literally just part of my routine. I go over it. But if you go into my videos, liquidity levels, you'll see all of this stuff, right? But if you just put on this indicator, hide all of these, you can see, in my opinion, really, really clearly, a series of higher lows. This is especially because it's the weekend lows, I really do like this level. You've got one higher low, another higher low, so liquidity is building up here, right? With also the idea of taking those daily stops out before, and there's a gap between this one and the lowest point, and I like this low. This is a good low. So the idea would be you take two of them, run people out of their liquidity position, out, stop them out, and then you can see a move up, or depends on which way we get it. But I think there's definitely potential trades to be had at either end of the spectrum here, right? This is why I had this one up here. I had it here and I moved it to here, because if it's going to come and take this one, I feel it will take this one as well. It's very, very close. Whereas this one doesn't have that kind of scenario. I think this is that low. So that's the way I'm looking at it. But I think either ends of this spectrum here, You know, you can see I've got many alerts. I've got this alert for the poor low, and I can delete one of these as well. Right, so I've got, you know, 2 alerts. This is a poor low technically. So I know on London session, please bear this in mind. You know, we've got the highs here, and we've also got London session low. Now, I'm not to always say this is going to get taken, and I've mentioned this before, but it remains in my mind as to how I form my daily bias. You know, if this moves up now, I'm increasingly likely to look for a short if the opportunity is given. It's like a slam dunk, you know. And this is how I've always been asked before. Where do you get these high hit, high R trades from, or relatively high? You know, that I'm generally hitting 2-3 R on my winners, maybe 1.8 at the lower end. But you know, if I have a trade like this where we do get, for example, something like this, right? Okay, well, now because of my daily bias, most people would be like, well, I'm going to take profit at like anchored VWAP or whatever it may be. Whereas for me, you know, I'm playing statistics at that rate. You know, I generally wouldn't even take profit on that stage until we'd hit this poor low / London session low on the day. Obviously, there's some times where that doesn't work out and it might just, you know, do this or whatever. But I'm prepared for that. But most of the time, it does play out because, you know, the stats are on my side in that case, and I'm not just guessing, you know. I think I've always mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. Everyone, you know, how many times do you hear people talk about this? The 80% setup, the value, you know, what's the word? God, I forgot the name of it now. The 80% setup, you know, where you trade the range, you know, except outside of value area to the other side of value area. Everyone loves that setup because it's got a statistic to it. You know, I think that's extremely important that, you know, you realize that the psychology of having 80%, everyone wants to take it because it's got a stat behind it, whereas I've got a stat behind this, so I have even higher conviction in this as well, because also I know that, you know, most people cannot be bothered to track stuff like this, you know, so it just gives you an edge on the upper hand as well. So yeah, it's really useful on that front, and I really highly recommend everyone to do something like that. There's a lot of questions coming in, so I'll go over the ES in a bit. SFA gets a trend. What statistics say? I mean, there's certain things. I mean, I've done a whole thread on stats gathering, so you can go. I'd recommend to go and watch that. Name of indicator again. It's just daily highs and lows. Yeah. Did you take Friday? Yes. I did take the Friday low. That trade on the Friday. Yeah. I'm going to talk about that in my newsletter, which will be out tonight. Okay, so the Friday, the newsletter that I do on a bi-weekly basis will be out tonight, free. Again, you can go sign up to that if you want, and it'll be there. A few other trade breakdowns possibly as well, but a lot of stuff coming out. That is an indicator, or you mark it's an indicator. That one's an indicator where I'm marking it in the daily highs and lows. Yeah, daily high low. That low you like is also 618. Lots of confluence there. Yeah, I was actually thinking about this. I'll briefly touch upon this idea because I remember having a similar thought last week, which was something like this. You know, I've gone over this before, but something like, I can't lie. I just wouldn't. I'd be less if we got this low taken. I'm not too if we take this low, interesting to know, if we come down here and take this low and then we start to rally, the short is, I'd be more cautious on shorting 34,870. I would still be looking to potentially short 35,300, but it plays into that kind of aspect of what I'd be looking for. Okay. 200 days, not 200 days, 2 years generally. I like 2 years. Export trading view, you can just click here, export the data, if you have certain package, I'm not sure. So that's kind of I wanted to just really make this clear for everyone, the plan and the levels of interest, because I want you to hopefully get a good understanding of the levels I'm really interested in and why. There's a few, so this one up here, this one down here, I'm not sugarcoating around any of the levels I'm interested in. And this low here, you know, with the idea that this low should be taking at some point, you know, like I said, the ideal scenario for days like this for me are move up, SFP, take the low, and then you can use this as your target, move all the way back down, you know, as a TP1, then you get the potential long, and then you can rally. That would be the ideal plan. But either one of these positions, you know, I personally think, and this is, you know, you've got to be thinking at which levels are people not looking at that much. This type of low here, and no one really looks at stuff like this. I'll tell you that in my opinion. I'll tell you that now for a fact. So it really is useful, okay, when you see something like that, you know, where not many people are interested in it, and you know, you have an edge over the market, in my opinion, is something like this, where that would be like insane. So those are the two trades really I'm looking for heading into this week. I kind of spotted these really early this morning, so we've got that. Obviously with the volatility coming in, there's a lot going on this week, I believe. So, you know, I believe from tomorrow, Wednesday, I believe Friday as well. So yeah, again, you know, without sounding a bit, what's the word, I don't know if cocky is the term or anything, I couldn't really give anything, you know, as to what goes on within these conferences or the Fed presses, whatever. I'm much more interested in just the time they're occurring, because that is when generally the levels can be hit, and I'm definitely well aware of the times they'll be hit throughout the day. So each day I'll check, okay, is there volatility at X time, and then trade based upon that as well, you know. What do you think about liquidation heat maps? I don't use them. I don't find them useful, and I think a lot of people overcomplicate trading. Not to say that they're not useful for anyone, but I think if you're new into trading, and I just think everyone shares quite a few, or people are misguided sometimes. So personally for me, I'll show you, you know, and this is interesting to note, like personally for me, I use a lot of order flow stuff like this, right? But this might not be for everyone. You know, you don't have to use exactly what I'm using here. You know, this could be a bit too much for you, for your strategy, whatever it may be. This is the poor low, by the way, on the TPO. You know, this might not be for you, but you know, you can narrow it down. And I'm not going to sit here and say you must use this, you must use that. You know, I've seen people say you must use this indicator, that indicator. Don't overcomplicate it. You know, build your way up through what you want to learn, and then find a strategy, whatever you know, in that case, and then try and build something around it. You know, I didn't just come into trading one day and see 25 people, you know, people on Twitter or wherever using order flow and start using it. I really had to build it up into like what it is now for me, and like I know what each component is used for, rather than just having it there for the sake of it and looking at it, which is what I feel some people do with like these heat maps, etc. And that's, you know, just work your way into finding how it gives you an edge at the end of the day. And if it doesn't, don't force it into your routine. Yeah, GM, exactly. I would think the same in terms of like events can just fuel. Yeah. What is the best to use from XO for scalping 1 to 5 minute things? There's tons of different tools within XO. It really depends on how you want to trade. You know, are you trading like really intricate market structure changes? Then trend rev. Are you you know, volume based charts are useful. Time, you know, there's tons of different things out there. Can I explain why it's a poor low on the TPO? Really simply, 2 blocks at the very bottom of the TPO profile. That's going to equal a poor low. This is I do like this zone here, something like that. You know, when you have something like this, which is like a low put in within London session, it just makes you, if you get, you know, this is how you play the markets and stats to your advantage. Like people might know that this comes, you know, what's the probabilities of putting this in within a certain session, but then if price then moves up that day, right, that can then just increase the likelihood you end up taking a short trade to target back towards those lows. So that's how I do it. get some questions in. I'm interested more to hear what you're saying. You know. So some questions coming in. Give me a second. What prices per row do you, that depends on, you know, the volatility. I'll explain a few more things. Yeah. What prices per row right now you can see is 300 ticks on XO. That will adjust based upon volatility. When there's less volatility, it can be like 200. Sometimes it can go up to 500. 300 right now seems to be the sweet point for me, but again, that can adjust. Alex, do you use DOM or tape? Not really. No. I'm not gonna lie to you because it's here. I'm more interested in the tape, okay, than anything. The tape, you know, so I can see what type of orders are coming in, if the larger people are coming in, whatever. But I actually did plan on, and this will be coming, so be prepared, a thread on the tape. So yeah, well, I'll give you a little exercise, right? So if we know that the generic TPO size, like, you can't obviously fixate it, but you can for like the ES and NASDAQ. ES and NASDAQ, you have like kind of fixed known sizes, you know, 4 for the ES, 20 for the NASDAQ. Sorry. Yeah, so 4 for the ES, 20 for the NASDAQ. You can go back and test, right? Go and test what's been going on. So go, literally just load the data up and go, okay, I'm going to load 300 plus days worth of data. Yeah, and then go and literally just go manually, okay, where's there a poor low? So there's no poor low, okay, or poor high, whatever. There's a poor high this day. That's not tested within 3 days. You know, so that's not tested. You know, you can go through the next day, nothing. Oh, poor low. Is that tested? Not within, you know, that's not tested at all. So that's not really, you know, this is a poor low on this day. That's tested within 2 days. And you go through, you know, tons of data and you test. You don't just look at 1 or 2 days worth of data and go, oh, it's not working, you know. So you actually have to look at extended pieces of information. Yeah. Do you sometimes answer? I try to. I get a ton of DMs in the Discord. I really try to. When I get time, but again, trading comes first for me. Open interest in ETH spiked over fears. What is your forecast for ETH? I don't really trade Ethereum right now. Maybe I will. I used to trade it quite a bit actually. But I just really nailed down my edge on Bitcoin. You know, how do I recognize iceberg orders? I've done a thread on this. I could link it. Yeah, I could link that later. But I've done a thread on iceberg orders before. But I'll do it again maybe. But like if someone wants to screenshot this and screenshot, well, this is not what I'm looking at. If someone wants to screenshot this and then screenshot it and then like tag me in it on Twitter or whatever, because this is the plan I'm looking for today or this week, really. You know, this could happen over the course of a few days. Alternatively, this high is really interesting. 35,300. Be aware of that high, and if there's no rejection there, if there is no rejection at this high, yeah, we're moving higher. It's just kind of simple as that. You know. Okay. Yeah. Why Bybit chart? Why don't you use enhanced perps? I've actually discussed this quite a lot with the Exo charts team. We just prefer to look at like Bybit data. Yeah, won't go into the nuances, but I just would prefer. What do you consider is a stronger support resistance, volume POC or time POC? Personally, volume point of control. Simple one to answer for me. I like to keep my charts clean. I think that's important. So many times do I go on someone's chart, and I see so much like just random info everywhere. Like, it's good to keep it all organized. So if I just click here, I know exactly the levels I'm looking for. This is generally what I just have on for the whole day. And now it's just about remaining patient. Do I see anything? Probably not right now, but that's just like the best part about it, is just being able to sit on your hands. Like, how do you handle your emotions when you lose? Do you get mad? Because if that's the case, that's a big problem. Just all of this psychology is a massive part into your trading, in my opinion. Poor low on XO, but no poor low on trading with TPO. I mean, it depends on your ticks. Like, if they're the same and it's different, then yeah. It's hard to execute in chase mode. I don't even execute in chase mode, but I use in Silico terminal. Yeah. Yeah. If you got any questions, bring them in. I didn't want this to drag on for extremely long, but I wanted to cover all my plans. So like right now, I think everyone's really, you wake up and everyone's just trying to trade every single little move, maybe this SFP here, whatever it may be, but like really set yourself out to have a routine into, what you're checking each level, and then how that routine leads into your planning for the day. Like, which levels are you interested in? Like, I think one massive thing, which, for example, with my students that I get to do, again, I'm going through that waiting list still, so bear with me for any of you who have applied and are waiting on a response. I've actually sent out one response or two responses to quite out of the quite a few that applied. So if you check your emails if you haven't, or your preferred contact message or contact info, whatever it was, I forgot what I was going to say. It's going to be really important, and I forgot what I said. Yes, it was. So I think everyone should really have a very clear structure in terms of what is your plan at the beginning of the day, and did you stick to that, and like have that really good feedback loop by the end of the day. What is your feedback loop between what is your plan, a very clear structured plan, and then at the end of the day you can say to yourself, did you stick to that, yes or no? And making sure that is as clear as possible within however you want to structure that, with your notes, whatever. But did you have a plan? For me, I've got it all in Notion. I've got a template on that. You can drop me a DM and I'll drop you a link to where you can find it. It's within the newsletter. You go read about it. It's down towards the bottom of how I've automated that. But having a very clear structure there, because if you can't stick to your plan, that's a key fundamental as to why you're not succeeding, probably, to be honest. I think that's extremely important, and I think everyone should take note of that. I stack collect with Excel. I don't know how to code, so like I'm literally just stack collecting with Excel. You don't use Hyblock? No. Yes, I do keep a strict journal of all my trades. Yes. What do you think about Atlas? Atlas is a good platform. It's free. I don't think it's as user intuitive, so it depends on how you want to go about it. I use Exo, but I don't, condemn all other platforms. I think Atlas is good. It's free, but it's just not user intuitive as Exo is. Exo is very we'll go over to it now quickly. Right? I mean, it's like really easy to use in my opinion. In terms of like easy on the eyes. I know exactly where I'm looking. Customizability is there. It runs smoother on my PC. It's available on Mac as well. So there's tons of benefits to it. Obviously it costs, right? But it depends the price you want to pay for your trading as well. Like if you want to pay nothing, then yeah, Atis is your option. But if you want something like this, yeah, then good. We are actually working on a few things coming. You know, I think we've been asked about what's coming for the updates of XO, Binance web servers, because we know they do go down on the occasion. We are working on that. Integrating trading, live trading within XO, similar to what Atis has, probably better, I would like to say, and other factors like that. So yeah, yes, Coin Market Manager is good. Can you make a video on how to generate and how to learn from it? I've made a video similar to this already on my YouTube, I'm pretty sure, right? So yeah, I've made a video on that. Just go look up journaling and you'll see it on my channel. Let's see, is it? There's a question somewhere, right? Okay. Yeah, I will. I don't mind collabing with someone on collecting stats, whatever that may be. You know. So, you do your trades via Bybit and then via Insilico Terminal, don't you? Well, I'm thinking right now I'm using BitGet and WooX. So for BitGet, I'm executing through Insilico Terminal, and for WooX, I'm executing via their native platform. Again, there can be links to that below. I kind of struck out on a good deal for you there. You know, something I actually wanted to do. I'll tell you like this now, because everyone obviously like offers like 20% off deals, whatever it may be. And obviously I got 25%, but like basically they'll give, for example, my share is 50%, right? And I can split that, my 50%, 25% with myself, 25% with the users. What I want to do is, like, if I had the option, I would give you lot like 45% and keep myself 5%, you know, if that was, you know, if that was a possibility. But I've literally, you put it to the maximum rate, and you know, I don't know why that is, but yeah, that would be really useful, I think, if someone was to help integrate that, whatever it may be. But 40, you know, I would love a much higher split rate with you guys. So, but 25% is the max. You know, it's a really good offer anyway. So it's 25% off all fees. Okay. Do you consider that, I change your break in volume if there's a break? I don't really look at alts right now. Again, you know, if you're not profitable, and yeah, I'm not saying you aren't, but if you're not profitable and you end up trading 10, 20, 50 different altcoins, like, I'll put it as blunt as possible, like, what the fuck are you doing? I think it's, you know, you should be literally focusing, nailing down on one asset or one pair to nail your edge before like trying to diversify, trading 20 different things which completely all have different characteristics, you know. So like, bear that in mind whenever you're thinking about taking a trade. So I really couldn't stress that enough. You know, I by the way, I did want to note, I do note that I know I could do these streams within New York session, but that just conflicts with my trading hours, and I'm very much regimented in the fact of I don't really like to have any communication with anyone within those set hours, especially when I'm trading. So it's just kind of, I need to be focused on that during those hours. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it from now. So because my actual New York Open is within 15 minutes for me, at least. So no, I don't use net shorts, net longs, net shorts, or net. So, well, kind of within the text types. Yeah, you could say so. But yeah, I don't want to bore everyone. I've kind of given where is this? My plan out. Just a reminder, the few things to note: London session low. Not saying it's 100% taken, but if we get an opportunity up here, I would be looking for a target. And alternatively, you have one, this high, this low, preferably on either side. This is the best one. This is the best one. These are still levels I'd be trading though. I would still be trading those levels. So all 4 levels I'm looking to trade, with the bias of this being that London low and playing off of that. So yeah, thank you everyone for how do I come up with session times via gathering the average volume per day per hour. I share this as well, and then going from the peaks and troughs and splitting them up into sessions. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you lot found it valuable. You can again go and watch it whatever you want.